We're back.
We're back. Oh,
Point at the camera.
oh, that's my camera?
That one over there.
Hi.
Or this one.
Well,
This
that's
time
a
we got
better
it both.
one. No.
Oh, we got this one too. You can put either actually. Any of them. This time you're on all of them.
Hi,
You're in all of them this
everybody.
time.
Okay, so this time is my movie, and the movie was not my personal movie,
Yeah.
but
I directed it.
I starred. Okay, so my movie is 2001, Devil's Backbone. Okay, the director is the one and only Guillermo del Toro. It's like, is this guy a genius or what? The writers are Guillermo del Toro, Antonio Trasoras, and David Munoz. Right. Okay. So I had to make so many notes because, like, to me, there's movies. And then there's movies. It's like this movie, this story is so like I was thinking kind of like the Bible or fables. It's like they're telling you a story that you can look at one level. It's a very entertaining story, but it also has meaning, and there's so many meanings going on beneath it that it's like, oh my God, this is like amazing. This is amazing. Mm-hmm. I was telling George, our friend Mario I was never a big Picasso person. I'm sorry. It was like I was kind of like, yeah, okay, and he was like, no, you got to understand Picasso, and he took me to the gallery, mm-hmm. and he took me through Picasso from the beginning to the end. By the end of it, I was like, this guy's a genius. It's like, but I didn't think of it as a genius as an artist. I thought of him as a genius as like an Einstein or, he had a different vision. I believe the same of Guillermo del Toro. His medium just happens to be film, right? But anyways, so although it's in the horror thriller genre, it is not your normal horror thriller picture. It's set in Spain at the end of the Spanish Civil War, about 1939. Carlos, our 12-year-old protagonist, Fernando TLV, would you say that's correct?
How do you spell it?
TLV. Well, it wasn't really rhetorical. Has just become an orphan as his parents are killed in the war. He is dropped off by his tutor to this remote orphanage where all the children of the resistance fighters that have died are there. They're fighting against Franco, and they're losing that fight. The orphanage is run by an elderly couple. Federico Lupi is the actor, and Marisa Paredes is the actress. They are sympathetic to the cause. They are functioning at a bare minimum. The orphanage is in the middle of nowhere. And even though they are not near the war, there is an unexploded bomb in the courtyard. And you can hear it ticking. They keep saying, look, put your ear to it. You can hear it ticking. I say that the bomb is really symbolic. It's the real horror is what the war does to people, and that's what I think he shows in both. George told me this was the first movie, and Pan's Labyrinth
was supposed to be
was supposed to be the second part of that movie, even though it was a different. Remember, Pan's Labyrinth is after the war, but 9/11 happened here, and that kind of
changed his thinking, or I guess
on things. But you can see that. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but they both started with a child lying on the floor with blood coming out of their head. Right? That was like that's where they both start. And so Pan's Labyrinth is the end of the war, and this is the during the war, right? So, anyways, and how war creates monsters. And they kind of show you this when Carlos has arrived, he is assigned to a bed. It's number 12. This bed was of a child named Santi. A guy the actor is June Valverde Gimeno, who has mysteriously disappeared. Jamie, another child there, Inigo Garces.
Garcias? No, Garces.
Garces is an
Inigo Montoya.
Come to avenge. Yeah, he's an older boy who bullies the younger children. He's not totally corrupted, but although he's well on his way to being corrupted. There is a ghost on the premises that seems only to be seen by Carlos, although the other children can hear a whisper.
The size.
Yeah, Carlos is curious, and this leads to an unraveling of a mystery. The plot is intense. The characters are complicated with great depth. People trying to deal with a very dehumanizing circumstance, and it's all seen through the eyes of these children. So it's just kind of, it sounds like really tragic, but it's really not. It's like, I mean, it is tragic, but it's just so deep. That's the best way I can explain it. I'm like, it just happens on so many levels. To me, they're both anti-war movies, basically. They're just kind of how dehumanizing war is. And I thought the three boys, like Jamie, Jacinto, and Carlos, they're kind of a progression of people. Like, in other words, starts out with Carlos, so innocent, becomes Jamie, the bully, and then becomes Jacinto, he's just corrupted. But he started out as an innocent. He's from these children. He was one of these children. So anyways, that's basically how it is. It gets way more interesting than that, but I can't believe I didn't see this movie. I had never seen this movie.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was the one on we saw the one on the elevator, the devil.
Oh, the one
when they said that, I thought that's what the movie was, right? But this time I watched it, I was like, of course, Guillermo del Toro would never do that movie.
But that was a good movie too, the one on the elevator. I
haven't seen that.
Oh, it's pretty freaky. It's pretty freaky. It's good.
But not even close. Yeah. This is way up there with Pan's Labyrinth. In fact, I thought he's done 3 movies that I think are like the Mona Lisa of movies. And that would be Devil's Backbone, Pan's Labyrinth, and the water one. That's something of water. The
Shape of Water?
The Shape of Water. They're all like
Did he do Kronos too? Was he
Yes, he did.
Oh,
but I'm saying those 3
movies, yeah.
I've actually seen movies by him that I don't think are that great. But I think these 3 are
they are.
They're it's way past being a movie. It's like a work of art. It's a lesson. It's also, if you're not a lesson person or a symbolic person, it's just a really interesting movie. You can just watch it on that level too. So that's what I thought. Okay. George.
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie too. I'm a fan of Guillermo del Toro. Not to be confused with Guillermo del Caballo. No. So
Who's that?
Yeah, right. But you know one thing that he does in his movies too, that he has really, for the Me Too people, he has really strong women actually in his movies.
Absolutely.
The 3 movies you mentioned, like Water for Jack. I mean, the Shape of Water.
Yeah.
She's
That's another
I
one.
was gonna call it Poppy, but the actress.
Oh yeah.
She's
Puppy.
really
Sally Hawkins.
Sally Hawkins, really strong character. The character in Pan's Labyrinth, the
two
girl
women.
and the 2 women are really strong. And then the 2 women in this movie are both really tough.
Well, can I
Really
say
strong.
one thing? I thought that was really interesting because I think he's really got the yin and yang thing going on really strong. That in this movie, it's basically all males except for 2 women. In Pan's Labyrinth, it's mostly women and males. The women are the front characters. In this, it's the males that are the front characters. So I think he gets, and I'm wondering if he actually did it that way. He's doing yin and yang. How both people, how they're both in really bad circumstances, and how they both all deal with it in their different ways. I think the men come out a little worse for it. You know what I mean? In his opinion.
He does make a lot of symbolic gestures too. That there's one scene that I like that it's kind of difficult to describe without giving it away. But one of the characters, that the lady, she has she's missing a limb. She's missing a leg.
Yeah.
So she wears one of those,
Artificial legs.
Carmen is, yeah.
And then there's one scene where she says, "The weight of my leg is just, holding me back too." And it made me think, that is a symbolic, because it's the weight of this thing, and how the weight of this thing is in a way is bad too. But
Yes.
see, I cannot say without giving it too much.
Yes.
But it's about the weight of that. So yeah, he makes a lot of those interesting points. He makes something. Yeah, he was always making a statement about war and how violent it is, and how it changes people, and how it changes it.
But especially
I guess
children,
PTSD,
how
yeah.
like the children are just like in the Pan's Labyrinth. It's a little
Because
girl.
he always uses innocence, and how it and then how it goes from that to PTSD, or complete corruption, or the extraction of the mind, because you get totally messed up with that war. So he's always making statements about war, and also we're going with that. Yeah, and actually in a way, kind of war and money too. Remember the Jacinto, Jacinto, the guy.
Yeah.
She's looking. He has. She has. They have gold there in the house. So
Yeah.
this won't give things away.
Because they're really the resistance.
Exactly that. So
It's
she kind of gives them so they can buy
covering
weapons and
as
stuff.
the orphanage.
But he's looking for it. So to me, the movie makes a statement about war and about money. Anyway, so yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think he's and I'm sure there's way more stuff going on in there that I'm
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You could do a college lecture
Yeah.
on this
Yeah.
movie. I think
thesis.
a thesis
No,
on
Guillermo
it.
del Toro movies.
Yeah, I certainly would.
Very much so, yes.
Yes.
I can see that.
Okay.
Well, I remember seeing this at the theaters because I love Kronos so much. And Kronos is not on the level as his later movies, but it's still a fascinating psychological movie.
It's also
Really
taking
was, right?
a really interesting concept.
But it's
Exactly,
also, it's
yeah.
also Kronos is also giving you a message. And
No,
stuff,
very
yeah.
much so, of that same type, because
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think you're right. Because Federico Lupi, who's in this, he was the star in Kronos. So he's playing the doctor now at the orphanage, and it's sort of fascinating because he at one point sort of tricks the kids because the young boy, who was
Carlos?
his name?
No.
Carlos, yeah. Carlos actually gets beaten up or gets into a fracas, and he refuses to say that other people are involved. He will not squeal. So the doctor basically does something very clever, and then he knows exactly, and he calls the 4 boys and said, we're in trouble, but then they realize he didn't say anything. So
He's
that's how he
psychology.
gets they sort of accept him. But it's funny because when Carlos gets there, he's just, like you said, innocent. He doesn't know what's going on. He is just told, he hasn't even been told that his father has now been killed during this war, which, again, as you said, there's a war orphanage for all these people. They're also there, as you had mentioned, because I don't think you give away, but is that she then passes on them money. She gives them a little bar of gold. And she's telling them, we don't have any money. Like, this isn't our money, so we can't spend it. So she gives him the gold. And then Jacinto seems to believe that there's still gold somewhere in this castle. And he keeps, or in the orphanage, I should say. He keeps
There's some
looking.
kind of safe
Oh, right. They
Well,
did
he
show
believes
that.
there's gold. He believes there's gold there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so he's. Yeah,
So he
trying to
and
find-
some of outsiders also trying to track this. So what's funny to me though is the fact that I never saw this as a supernatural or horror movie. This is a really good drama, and I said this is a good drama about the Spanish Civil War, obviously, you know, because even at one point things happened to the people who brought the young boy, you know, or I believe who was his tutor, a doctor,
Yes,
was his
tutor.
tutor who goes off, and then something happens to him, and then it's just like you said, it's sort of tragic on all these weird different levels, but you're really seeing it through the innocent eyes of these young boys because they're still sort of have to live. The young woman in there, I thought was fascinating because
Yes.
she keeps saying something like, "This is a seed for your life." So she keeps giving what really meager portions they have. So even that's
Conchita.
symbolic
Conchita,
Yeah,
and that's by
Conchita,
Irene,
yeah.
Irene Vicedo.
because she is in has a you assume she's in a relationship with Jacinto at this point because they're about the same age. Then you have the Paredes character because she is from the Almodovar films. That's how I knew her. She was in All About My Mother. She was on High Heels, right? So it's like, and they're both the Lupe and her are both good actors. So
Yeah.
they're playing their roles really well. So it's really the kids that are really sort of drawing you into the movie because there is something supernatural going on. And you know it's there. The thing is, you're not imagining a thing. You're sort of seeing it through his eyes, yet all the kids say they hear the sighs. Oh, it's those sighs going on. And then, of course, you hear what the sighs actually are, and you sort of laugh because you know that's not the sighs they're talking about. But then the mystery as it goes on about why a ghost is in the orphanage or why the orphanage is self-haunted, I think is, again, representative of what you're saying about the war. No matter through your life, you're going to have ghosts that are going to follow with you because there's so much unfortunate death that happens during these times.
And
you
it
know?
also dehumanizes people.
Also, another point that
They have to deal with situations that are totally dehumanizing,
Well,
make
but-
choices that are totally dehumanizing.
But in that really just not even being prepared for it, just basically thrown into the lions. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, here, you're staying here. I mean, they literally, when they leave him, he thinks he's going with them, and the guy just leaves a suitcase, just waves by and just leaves or something like that.
yeah.
So, I mean, it shows you, like, again, and which is why I like that these kids are really seeing sort of the best of life. I mean, it's showing you how the world really is this wonderful place, but how horrible it is to live in and what you do to survive. And as they're going on, because they basically have to take their survival into their own hands. And you almost think, is this going to become like Lord of the Flies or something like that on that level, right?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
And so it's really
Yeah,
fascinating. And
yeah.
yet, what I did like is what it did. It still brought them together. I mean, that's the one thing, because even at one point, the adults, it's like they're not going to be able to help anymore. Something's going on here. And again, that's the tragedy of it, is that it keeps getting worse and worse. And yet, by the end of the movie, you just think these boys have learned. You're hoping they will not become horrible people in this, but if they do, you understand why.
Well,
I mean, you're sympathetic to what's going to happen to them because they are going to start their own adventure, but they're going to do it together, which is really, I think, an important message.
Well, I thought it was interesting that, okay, to me, Jamie was actually the pivotal character in this because he was somewhere between Carlos and Jacinto.
Right.
But I feel like Carlos changed him by recognizing they had things in common, like comic books.
Right.
And he was actually a very good artist.
The drawings, right?
Yes. And he actually, in a way, he redeemed him. He helped him not become Jacinto.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
but believe me, Jacinto is also a victim of this
Of circumstance.
of circumstance.
Literally of circumstance.
He's a survivalist, and he has totally become a survivalist.
Another thing that was interesting too, that remember the whole movie in the courtyard, there's this huge bomb that's never went off, and it's just sitting there, massive, huge thing, you know, like and he's just sitting there, it never went off. So they're living in the courtyard. But I think Guillermo's also telling you the point that this is an orphanage. There's children here, and there's a bomb sitting right in the middle of the courtyard that just didn't go off, which means we would have killed all these kids if the bomb would have gone off. So he's thinking this thing about war. we just and everybody gets it. Innocent children. So he makes those 2 points.
Right. No, very much so.
That's what I'm saying. It's really an interesting movie because you could just watch the movie like a fable or like a parable,
Right.
and you could watch it and it's entertaining story. Or you can see it's like the depth of this story is unbelievable. I even wonder if Guillermo del Toro knows what
deep his story is.
his story is.
I claim he does because, see, after seeing this and then seeing Pan's Labyrinth, I thought, oh, he really sort of he perfected it in Pan's Labyrinth.
That was yes.
Because literally, this is not as stylish. I mean, it's still actually a very moody movie. I'll give it that. But it's not as stylish or polished as Pan's Labyrinth because, actually because of the fantasy aspect. Because that's the thing, that Kronos had a fantasy aspect to it, or supernatural aspect.
Yeah.
This does. And then Pan's Labyrinth, I kept thinking, oh, he's going to always have that fantasy element, yet he does it very well. There's a reason for the fantasy because it's like the young boys here where they're like you said, they're into comic books.
Yes.
You understand why people have fantasies
Yes.
because it removes them from the horrors of the reality of a bad life in a way, and especially for these kids.
Well,
That's why it was sort of delightful to see the kids getting interested. I mean, literally interested in like slugs and the littlest things that just seem to marvel them, and I really like that part.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that's why children are so great for a vehicle into these situations because I don't even know if you know, but when it's like kind of if you're around children. I don't care what the situation is. It's lighter. You know what I mean? They make it lighter.
It's like the movie. There's a war going on. There's destruction. There's horrible things going on. Hey, look at the slugs. It's up. They're up. They're happy.
Yeah.
All the stuff's going on around
well,
them.
they find happiness where they can.
They can help it. It's like dogs, like puppies.
Like puppies,
They have their tails
absolutely.
wagging.
And but it also makes you like so mad. It's kind of like why do we do this? You know what I mean? Why do we do this? So anyways, I think he's a genius. I think this movie is that was another thing I was going to say. I love the way he shoots movies. It's kind of like his shots. Like this is kind of always amber. There's always like an amber kind of like in The Shape of Water. There's always kind of a blue going on, right?
Oh, Hellboy. It's very red, very.
Yeah, he really creates an atmosphere visually with color. I was going to say, as Alfred Hitchcock does he also creates an atmosphere, but it's a feel kind of atmosphere. It's not his shot so much. I don't know how to explain it.
It's, in my opinion, it's more the editing and the angles.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the look. It's how he angles the shot and then cuts it to like it just.
And also the audio. It's a lot of quiet.
Well, it's kind of when you see if you just walking in, you see somebody's playing a movie on their TV and you go, "Is that a Guillermo del Toro movie?" Just certain people like what's his face?
You kind of like if you hear a song and you go, "Hey, is that whoever?" Right?
Stanley Kubrick. Like Stanley Kubrick. Is that a Stanley Kubrick movie? They have a particular feel in it.
Yeah, they have a feel. He's one of those guys who has a feel.
Like even if it's not them, but he has the feel. You go, that's the first thing you think of.
Yeah, and I have to say that the man in it, Jacinto, he's a young man. He is the most beautiful looking man who is so evil, which I think is also interesting. He picked a very handsome man to play this really evil character.
And that little boy that looks like he's going on 30.
You mean Carlos?
Yeah.
But he doesn't.
No.
He really.
Big eyes kids.
Yeah.
The kids were like kids are very very chatty, very like in those kind of classic movies like Spielberg, where the kids seem to be more aware than the adults and stuff. Sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so is that you? Anything more? I think I've said it all. See this movie, and then see Pan's Labyrinth after it.
So what do you rate it? Let me guess.
20.
I'll give it a 10 too. It's just
I give it a 7. I like it.
7. Okay.
I know it wasn't Friday night. No kidding.
No Friday night.
We'll be back.
Okay, we will.